I said before the break that Brooke Pryor, dear friend, covers the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL for ESPN and ESPN.com. I said that her world just got much more interesting. I don't know if that means better, but certainly more interesting. So, Brooke Pryor, how would you phrase how your world has now turned with Aaron Rodgers signing on the dotted line with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Interesting is a great word for it. I have been telling people it is great for business, terrible for mental health, terrible for work-life balance. But I said to my husband a couple of days ago, I am so excited to be back at the epicenter of the sports universe. And then this morning I told him I'm so tired, and he said, "What happened to the girl that was excited to be at the epicenter?" And I was like, "She needs a nap. Okay, she needs a nap."
I totally understand. I'm always on your side. So I am Team Brooke Pryor. All right, let's dig into did he show up at OTAs, or he's already doing things he's never done before?
He got here after OTAs. It is interesting, though. It's a little bit of a reversal because when he was in New York, he showed up to OTAs and then he skipped minicamp to famously go to Egypt. This time around, he did not sign before OTAs, so wasn't required to be here. Also, wouldn't have been required to be here even if he had signed. They're voluntary.
Right.
But he informed the Steelers on Thursday, I believe, that he was definitely signing, arrived in Pittsburgh Friday night, came to the facility Saturday morning, did his physical, signed the contract, signed a jersey, did the whole shebang, and then he's expected to be at minicamp on Tuesday. And we will talk to him Tuesday afternoon after practice, which should wrap up a little after 3 o'clock.
That is remarkable. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was interesting in New York, and honestly, I mean, it's almost sad that the injury happened so early. I mean, obviously 4 plays into year one, because to me that was the year that if the Jets were going to do anything, it was going to be that one. I know he wanted to run it back and they did too, but it was never going to work. They didn't have the same team that they had his first year. The level of expectation in Steelers country is never going to be anything less than winning a Super Bowl. So what are the reasonable expectations for this team with this quarterback?
I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to make that much of a difference. And the other starting quarterback option, of course, was Mason Rudolph.
Right.
I don't know. The thing that keeps sticking out to me is I talked with an NFL defensive coordinator who's gone against Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers, and he said the biggest difference is that Mason Rudolph can win you a game or be the guy for quarters 1 through 3. You know that he's a proven commodity. But in the fourth quarter, between Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers has that clutch gene. You know what you're going to get out of him. He can win a game in the fourth quarter. And maybe Mason Rudolph has that, but he hasn't shown it consistently enough to feel good going into a season with that as your option. So I do think that Aaron Rodgers maybe gets them from 9 wins to 10 or 11 wins, right? I do think that they finish over 500 as usual. That's the Mike Tomlin standard. But I don't think that adding Aaron Rodgers makes this a Super Bowl team. Now, he could come out and, being a year removed from the Achilles injury, have better mobility than he had last year. Maybe this offensive line gels faster and Broderick Jones takes a big jump going from right tackle to left tackle, which is his natural position. There are ways in which maybe this elevates up to an AFC championship berth. To me, that's kind of the ceiling. I don't see this going all the way to the Super Bowl, but I've been wrong before.
Brooke Pryor covers the Steelers for ESPN, joins us on the Adam Gold Show. Did that coach you spoke with, did he talk about what Rodgers looked like last year as a thrower? Because I thought there were times where he looked great, But I also thought that there were times where, that isn't what Aaron Rodgers used to do. So I don't know how far in depth you got it with that conversation, but was there anything about what he looks like consistently now?
I mean, that is definitely a part of it, because looking at the numbers too, I don't have them right in front of me, but his numbers throwing without pressure were not good. They were worse. The completion percentage, touchdowns, interceptions, all of that was worse than Russell Wilson last year.
Yep.
Again, when not facing pressure. And in talking with different analytics people, different coaches, like that's the most concerning number. It's one thing if you're throwing picks in the face of pressure, things like that. But when you're not performing well and you're not under pressure, kind of a red flag. He also, I believe, got the ball out one of the fastest in the NFL last year, and was just throwing a lot of short passes. He also seemed to be allergic to the middle of the field, which is a problem because that's where Arthur Smith wants to target. And you've got tight ends like Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, who felt frustrated at times last year when Russell Wilson wouldn't see the middle of the field. So I think that that's going to be another thing to keep an eye on. I mean, Rodgers' skill set and what he wants to do seems to be in direct contrast with the Steelers and Arthur Smith and what he wants to do. I mean, even though Aaron Rodgers doesn't maybe have the consistency with his arm that he had at earlier parts of his career, he still wants to be the guy in control. He wants to throw the ball a lot. I mean, I know that some of that last year was dictated by circumstance, but he still attempted the second most pass attempts in the NFL last year. The Steelers do not want to be a pass-first offense. They want to be balanced, if not a run-first offense. So that's going to take some compromise. And he also, when he was in Green Bay, because again, you can look at that last year and it's like, well, the Jets were playing from behind, that it was dysfunctional, yada, yada. But in Green Bay from 2008 to 22, the Packers ran the fourth fewest designed run plays when he was a starting quarterback. They just did not want to be a run-heavy team, a run-heavy organization. Again, that flies in the face of what the Steelers do. So I am interested to see how they work this out and who wins this, what could end up being a power struggle.
Brooke Pryor from ESPN is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. There's a leadership element to this as well. In New Where the Jets' best players were all really young and impressionable, whether it was Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson. They were young players, other than the friends of Aaron who came in. And they haven't signed any friends of Aaron yet. Hopefully for the Steelers' sake, it won't happen. But the Steelers have built-in leadership. How do you anticipate that working?
You know, it's going to be interesting because a lot of that built-in leadership is on the defensive side of the ball in the T.J. Watt, the Cam Hayward, the Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
A lot of their veteran guys are on defense, and they've kind of had a self-contained defensive leadership. Like, the defense has been fine. Obviously, they fell apart late last season, but I still think that they're able to get themselves on the track, get the train back on the track and keep going. The offense has been searching for a strong leadership core. It was Najee Harris was kind of a part of that last year. Pat Freiermuth is still very much a part of that. But in general, the offense is really young. That's why they brought in Russell Wilson a year ago to be a leader, to kind of unite that room. It worked until it didn't, until guys got kind of tired of the corniness and just the message, I think, got really stale really quick. But I think that depending on how Rodgers comes into this building, he could take that leadership role. And I think that it would be welcome because they still do have a lot of young guys. Caleb Johnson, their third-round running back pick this year. I think what the most veteran wide receiver is now DK Metcalf, who I think is also in line to be a leader on this offense. But it's going to kind of be some feeling each other out, and how much can, the new guys coming in be a part of that leadership core, or how much are they willing to kind of take a back seat to Pat Freiermuth and some of the guys who have been here a while, and it's which way ends up being the best way to unite this team.
How do the Steelers stack up in that division? I mean, you got Baltimore's probably on top of it. Cincinnati was disappointed last year. Disappointing, but we know what they've got, it's at least in terms of offense. Cleveland frankly should be better than they have been, and there's a whole bunch of good young players, maybe, I don't know how good they are, I guess, who should be better. How do the Steelers slot in that division right now?
Well, the second that I say third or fourth, they're going to find a way to win the division because that is just the way it always goes.
True.
I do think that they're probably second or third best behind Baltimore because we saw last year Baltimore was so physical and just so dominant, and the way the Steelers defense fell apart at the end. I mean, that was, I think, the impetus for them going heavy on the front seven in the draft, using their first-round pick on Derrick Harmon, again, doubling down with they got another guy out of Iowa. They also added Jack Sawyer, an outside linebacker. I think that Cincinnati, the difference between Cincinnati, or the thing that's going to dictate their season, is if they're able to get something done with Trey Hendrickson, or if he holds out, gets traded, whatever. Their defense, to me, didn't, I don't think, do enough. And we saw last year, Joe Burrow had essentially an MVP-like season, and that wasn't enough.
Yep.
Jamar Chase was a Triple Crown winner, and that wasn't enough. So, to me, if Cincinnati's defense can figure something out, then it becomes a much tighter race at the top. Otherwise, I think the Steelers are in the conversation to finish second, and also knowing how weird things happen in the AFC, they could end up winning it because that's just the way it seems to work.
All right, so opening day of the regular season, the Steelers are playing, look at this, at the Jets. Which starting quarterback, assuming no injuries, and it's Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Fields, which starting quarterback will carry onto that field a bigger chip on his right shoulder?
I mean, that's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think that he's an all-world chip carrier. He is really good. I've watched most of the Enigma documentary. He is really good at finding motivation, at feeling slighted. Now, whether or not that translates into winning a game, that remains to be seen. I think Aaron Rodgers in his younger years certainly could make that happen when he still had all the physical traits that allowed him to do that, the mobility, the gunslinging, all of that. But I don't know if 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers can turn that chip into a win. I think Justin Fields may have better success with that just being younger. But, that game is going to be so fascinating. The NFL absolutely knew what it was doing when it scheduled that week one. And it's in New York, too. So, what in the world? If I'm Aaron Rodgers, the thought would cross my mind, you know what? I'm not going to sign until week 2. I don't want to do this again. The league is a masochist organization, making me go out there and do that. But, I will be sitting there with my popcorn at kickoff. I'm excited.
The league hedged because, yes, they scheduled that game, but they buried it on Sunday. Why isn't that the Monday night kicker to opening weekend?
And I think that's where they were like, well, we don't want to spook him. We're pretty sure he's going to sign. Maybe if we put it Sunday at 1, he won't. It won't click with him that's what's going to happen. But they did put Packers Steelers Sunday Night Football week 8. So they took a gamble, and that one's also going to pay off. I mean, and the Steelers are playing the Vikings in Ireland, which Aaron Rodgers played the Vikings overseas last year and didn't look great.
No.
So, I mean, he could have a revenge tour. He could also just have a Groundhog Day waking nightmare. It's really a toss-up.
I just hope that Mike Tomlin gets through it. That's what I want. I'm Team Tomlin as much as I'm Team I'm more Team Brooke Pryor than I am Team Mike Tomlin.
I was going to be a little offended if you were more Team Mike Tomlin than Team Brooke Pryor.
I'm always Team Brooke Pryor. But I love Tomlin. I hope he gets through this because it's going to be a test to all of his leadership capabilities as well. Because Aaron Rodgers has a way of showing you that he's Aaron Rodgers. Brooke Pryor, this has been fun. Nap and then prepare and then just buckle it down because it's coming. I appreciate your time always. I will talk to you soon.
Of course, I'm going to go do some ayahuasca and take a nap and see, stories come to me in my dreams.
Let me know how the ayahuasca works out.
I'll do that just for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brooke Pryor here on the Adam Gold Show.